It's an honor to welcome to the show New Jersey goalie. It's Chris Piluso. Chris, how you doing today?
Good. Great to be on here.
Yeah, I love it. Well, thank you for reaching out. Thank you for making this happen. For those that don't know you, and I'm going to say that's a pretty large percentage of the listeners, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm a sophomore in high school. Last year was my COVID year of lacrosse. I was a freshman, and I played on the freshman team in my high school. We have 3 levels. We have a freshman, JV, and varsity. We have a big program here. And I mean, my goal this whole break-ish from lacrosse was pretty much move from my freshman to the starting JV goalie, or maybe even sit varsity, try and get varsity minutes, and really improve myself as a goalie and a human myself.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you said you're going into your sophomore year, grew up in New Jersey, pretty big, hotbed of lacrosse. And if your high school has 3 teams, that kind of tells me, the level that we're dealing at. And on those teams, like if you're a freshman, but you're the best goalie at the school, like you could start for the varsity team, right?
Yeah. So my coach pretty much, if you're on varsity, you're strict on varsity. You don't really play with the freshmen if you're a freshman on varsity, and you're really dedicated to that varsity team and that varsity roster and to our coach.
I see. So you couldn't, if you make varsity, and this is pretty good because a lot of parents ask me this and I actually don't know how to respond. So if you make varsity, is there a way you could practice with the varsity team and then play the JV games, or kind of same question with JV and freshmen?
Not at my school. If you practice with varsity, you either sit varsity or you play varsity. Last year, our JV goalie, he was the backup goalie for our varsity team, but he practiced with our JV squad.
Got it. Cool. What about going back to the beginning? When did you first step into goal, and do you remember kind of making your very first save?
Yeah, it's actually very funny. So my goalie on my team, he got hurt playing golf, and so our other goalie, he wasn't really into it, so I kind of took his spot, really, and he's still kind of jealous to this day. So and he plays back now, but I stepped in at a practice. I learned a rainbow arc, which was pretty much like a 6-step arc, I'm pretty sure, which is still strange to me now, but it was in 4th grade, and my first save was in a tournament, and it was the most thrilling thing in the world. The adrenaline pumping, everything about it. Unfortunately, I remember I didn't get the clear though. I threw a very bad pass and they scored on me right after.
That reminds me of my first save. I made the save, and you're right, all the adrenaline's pumping, and then I got so nervous and the ball wasn't settled in my stick, and I go to throw it and it just goes shooting out the side, and I threw it away. But that was on a man up situation. And then this is back in the day when the ball went out of bounds on the sideline. They used to have these things called horns, the horn, and it would stop the play. And they've since changed that rule. But anyway, they sounded a horn and they subbed me off. But that's kind of funny. So you were hooked. You were hooked from that very first save?
Yes, I fell in love, and I mean, throughout my younger years, through elementary school, I wasn't really that dedicated to that sport. I was more of a basketball player then. Mm-hmm. But as soon as middle school hit, boom, I was practicing every day. I was getting shots on goal every day. I started watching a crap ton of YouTube videos on lacrosse goalies, different lacrosse goalie drills. I started learning about different lacrosse goalies. Favorite, Scotty Rogers, the big rig. He's always been someone I've looked up to throughout his mental mindness, his play style, everything like that.
That's right, man. The big rig. He's going to be presenting at the Goalie Summit starting tomorrow. Actually, you coming? You can't wait. I think I read your lips, but the audio broke up for 1 second.
Yeah, I'm for sure coming to tomorrow.
All right, that's what I like to hear. That's awesome. Yeah, there's this generation of goalies like you that there's so much out there now. When I was growing up, there wasn't, we didn't have guys like Scotty Rogers and anybody on that. I mean, we didn't have YouTube for that matter. And now, there's this whole generation of goalies that are able to learn because of the work that and the resources that are out there. And I think that's amazing. I think that's really cool.
Yeah,
What
I
else,
agree 100%.
what else do you watch on YouTube?
That's pretty much it. Honestly,
There you go.
I've probably rewatched your save edits 1,000 times of the PLL this year.
Good. That's what I like to hear. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I do it. That's why I do it. Cause I mean, one, I love watching lacrosse and it's just fun to do. But two, if there's a young goalie out there that can watch saves, because all you see in highlights, you're scrolling your Instagram or the YouTube feed, and there's so many goals, right? They'll do like the highlights of the game, and maybe they'll show a save. But anyway, I love watching saves. I'm sure you do too.
And honestly, watching all those videos, I mean, it kind of shows me like different save techniques I can do. Maybe learn a few ways to step to the ball more. Maybe get my leg a little bit more, because I'm more of a body player. I kind of like throw myself at the ball. But the weird thing is, I'm kind of a regular goalie. I had a huge fear of the ball. I had thigh pads, shin guards, everything like that when I was little. Now I don't use any of that, and I kind of just throw myself out there, and it's honestly like one of my favorite play styles I've seen.
Yeah, where did you learn that style? Is there a specific goalie or like kind of some specific goalies that you learn from?
Yeah, Jack and Cannon. He's a very aggressive goalie. I kind of follow the same stance he has. He has a wide base of stance, which I really like. I feel like I can load off of that. I know you've had Jack Webb on the podcast. I kind of follow him a lot. And then there's another goalie, Connor Foley. He's going to Brown. He's from Thayer Academy. And he's also pretty much same height, and he kind of throws as me, and he kind of throws his body at the ball too. And it really shows that there's so many different play styles us goalies have, and there's not much education about them. And what you're doing with this podcast and everything really helps everyone learn about different play styles, different drills, different ways to be a goalie. And there's not just one set straight goalie rule.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I know you sent me a picture. Your most listened to podcast of this last year was the Lax Goalie Rap podcast. And I appreciate that. Thank you for the support.
Yeah.
Love it, man. Who was that goalie at Brown? I got to get him on the show. Connor Foley?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to write that name down.
Foley.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, that's what we're trying to do, build up the database of goalies and just bring some glamour and some like prestige to this position. Cause I'm like you, I'm a goalie, and the bigger, the more we can build up this community, I think the better we're going to be, right? Make people want to be goalies.
Yep.
I love it, man. How big are you? How tall are you?
I'm 5'9", about 147 pounds. So,
Okay.
I mean, I'm not that tall, but I'm still growing. But it's honestly, I wish I was taller, but, because like, I think wider stance goalies, if you're taller, you kind of take up more height of the goal. I'm pretty much barely over the midpoint when I'm in my stance of the goal. So it's a little harder to get to the higher shots, but when you get used to it, you kind of learn to fall into that.
Yeah. Yeah. That was the reason that, well, one, I didn't know about it, but two, that was the reason I wouldn't have done the wide base, when I was playing, just because like I'm 5'8", and unfortunately, unlike you, I'm pretty sure I'm done growing. I'm 41. So that's it. And like, if I were the wide base, it puts your center of gravity a lot lower, and I would just be giving up too much of the goal. So I was like, all right, I'll have, an athletic knee bend, but not lower myself so much. So, but there's so many different ways to play. You could have success either way. And you look at guys like Jack Webb. Jack Webb's not that tall. I don't know. I'll have to see how tall he is. But yeah, but he has tremendous success with that style, and I'm sure you do too.
Yeah.
Awesome. What would you say you love most about being a lacrosse goalie?
It's definitely the adrenaline and making those big time saves. Like, if your team's losing and you make a huge stop, you could bring that whole momentum back, and, it brings the whole team spirit back alive too. I mean, it gets the crowd pumping, your whole bench pumping, your whole team pumping, your defense, everyone. And I mean, if you make a good save and a good clear as well, if you make 3 of those per game, I'd say you'd have a successful game.
Yep. Yeah, nothing like making a save, huh? And you just have so much influence on the game. I love that aspect. You mentioned switching. You mentioned basketball as kind of like you was your main sport, lacrosse maybe your secondary, and then you switched. I'm curious why you did that, and two, if there's anything you think you learned in basketball that you kind of use right now in your goalie game.
Using basketball, I mean, as my footing, I mean, really like staying set and like on a jump shot, you kind of like on foul shots, you always want to stay set, take your time. And like the goalie Smith guys, you always stay set, read the ball, read where it's going to go and react. And that's what I kind of did with basketball. And that kind of transcended into me playing goalie. I mean, I stay set with a shot, wait for it to come and react towards it, knowing where it's going to go.
Yeah. Yeah, I was a big basketball player growing up. I mean, that was kind of my main sport, basketball, soccer, baseball when I was growing up. And like the basketball, yeah, it's a lot of footwork. I mean, there's direct translations into the way that you play defense, like as a midi or a defender, like that style of footwork. But you're also right in the sense that when you're taking a jump shot or when you're doing a jump stop, like the jump stop movement where you kind of jump and land on both feet, it's exactly the same as what we're doing when we're moving on our arc and like kind of resetting our weight. So I think there's
Agreed.
direct translations there.
Mm-hmm.
So awesome. Um, cool. And then, so, you start at a really young age. Like, how did you go about learning how to make saves? Did you have some coaches? Did you do some camps? Like, what was your approach there?
My coach, my goalie coach when I was young was one of like we had another goalie on my team and he played like attack when he was in college and he kind of gave me a bunch of points on like where to stay set, where to stay when I'm reacting for a shot. And I kind of learned it by myself. I mean, he was pretty inactive coach. I kind of learned it through YouTube. Uh, Getting experience pretty much was most of it. I mean, getting
Mhm.
shots, biggest impact of me because when I was like at my lowest point of being a goalie, I didn't really practice at all. But as soon as I started getting shots every day, every few days a week, I noticed to see a huge improvement because just knowing like where a shooter is going to go, just from reps, you learn so much from that.
Yeah, you really do. You really do. Like, you got to get reps. You got to get the reps. So many
Mm-hmm.
and so many the answers to so many different questions that goalies ask me, and the answer is reps. Like, how do I
Yeah,
get rid of this habit? It's like good quality reps, like just see a bunch of shot. I'm afraid of the ball, like as you can probably back up, like that feeling eventually goes away, right? I'm sure it did for you.
yeah. It honestly happened more recently. I mean, it happened like in seventh grade. I mean, when I took off those pads, I took them off in around seventh or sixth grade. But like the velocity from like the middle school age and elementary school age is a huge step up, and it's even more of a step up in high school
Hmm.
because when you practice with like those JV guys, those varsity guys, they're shooting 85, high 70s, low 90s, if anything.
Hmm.
And honestly, I've kind of just learned if I eat it, I eat it. And if I eat it well, I'm going to make a huge time save with it. Everyone's going to get hype. And that's what's going to drive me to make a good clear, get a good assist on a goal, and make that play happen.
Yeah, love it. Love it. I mean, that's the approach I recommend all goalies take, is when you're first starting out, like I think you got to have the pads. In fact, I mean, they're at the very youth levels. I think they're required, but it's
Uh,
just that, like, especially during practice. I mean,
yeah.
especially during practice, because you could be having like, and I've seen this happen many a time. You could be having a great training session, right? You're just feeling it. You're making all these saves and boom, then you get hit in the calf. Then you get hit in the
Yeah.
knee. Or what's your worst spot to take one?
Honestly, the bicep. I hate getting hit on
Mm.
the bicep. I mean, everything below my hip is pretty much fine. I've kind of grown immune to shots on thighs, but like anything above like on my arms, I kind of hate because if I get hit in the arm pretty hard and I make the save, it's kind of hard to clear it on a long pass, and I kind of give up the clear and I kind of do a crappy job on that. So that's
Yeah.
something I've worked on.
Yeah. Bicep is rough, huh? I
Yeah.
remember this one practice. I remember it very vividly. And I never played like football growing up. I played soccer, right? So I'd never like had a stinger before. And I go to like make a save, right? And it's kind of a off hip stay, but low to high. And it just hits me in the arm. And like my whole arm just went numb.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
I'd never felt that feeling before. And so I didn't know what it was, right? And so I'm like, something's really wrong. And then I like kind of like go out and the guys are like, oh, that's just a stinger. You'll be fine. I'm like, all right. Oh man, but yeah, bicep's pretty rough. Bicep is pretty rough. Do you still take shots every day today?
Yeah. I mean, they removed the goals in my town because of the winter, because my town, there's a lot of like different towns that come here because we have a ton of fields with like goals on them.
Mm-hmm.
So they took away the goals over the winter season. So I've been doing a bunch of like indoor sessions with my clubs, different like private training programs. And I've been trying to get those in maybe 3 times a week. And then in January, my high school starts an indoor league with like different towns in my area. And we all do a scrimmage competition throughout January and February. And then our season starts in March.
Cool. What do those indoor the indoor training sessions consist of?
Pretty much just reps, just a bunch of guys come shoot on me for an hour and a half, done. That's it.
Oh, got it. So like there's a goal indoors and you're just taking shots.
Yeah.
Cool. And is that league that you talked about, is it indoor lacrosse or like
No,
box lacrosse?
It's like a super dome. It's kind of like a field with like a big bubble over it and like fans inside to keep you warm. So it's pretty much like an actual spring lacrosse day, but just indoors during the winter.
Yeah. Love it. I wanted to ask you about the COVID canceled season. How was that for you?
It was actually very tough on me. I mean, I really hated not being able to go outside, not being able to play. And like really like your goalie summit, I watched that. I went to that as much as I could, even throughout my year. And I tried to go out to the wall, hit the wall a bunch, but none of my friends' parents were like they were all pretty safe. My parents are pretty lenient about like COVID and everything. So I was able to go outside, get like shots on stuff. But really, I wasn't able to get full reps with like a bunch of shooters shoot on me for a while until my freshman year, like started my season. And as I said before, the velocity of everything came at me. I missed my 8th grade season and really took a toll on me. And it really like hurt me mentally freshman year. I mean, it was really getting to me at the beginning because I was letting in so many goals. I was like, what the heck? I never knew I was this bad. But I mean, as soon as the season started to go by, I kind of learned the way of the world, and I kind of just learned it.
Yeah. Well, it was tough on a lot of people for starters, but also a lot of, just goalies and athletes. Cause kind of got the season taken away, and it's like, oh man, like, especially luckily for you, you've got, another 4 years of high school ball and then maybe even college. So you got a lot of opportunities still, but for some folks, it was their last season and that was taken away. And that's tough. That's tough to deal with. It's very, very difficult to get something that's so valuable stripped from you like that. But you know what? That's life sometimes.
Yeah.
Right. Awesome. What would you say is like the best part of your goalie game, Chris? If you had to.
Honest, my clearing. I feel like I'm a really good ball mover. I think I'm very good in transition. I'm very good coming out of the crease. I have good stick work. I mean, I can throw passes over the 50-yard line to make sure we get it to the attack, throw it over to the box. I mean, I'm a very good key transitioner. I'm still getting into those like curve shots. My friend just started showing me them, and I've been seeing them a crap ton, and they're really hard to like see and deal with. So I've been trying to get the grips on those.
Interesting. On curve shots, you said?
Yeah, you can. I don't remember if you saw the PLL clip. It was like the Water Dogs player where he curved it on the crease on John Galloway, and he ball into the goal, and it was insane.
I did see that. Yeah, I think that comes with that like textured ball too, right? Like the textured lacrosse ball, because you can, I don't know,
Yeah.
you can do some wild things on shots, and that's exactly what us lacrosse goalies need. Is now they have the ability to curb it,
Uh-huh.
as if 90-mile-an-hour hard rubber shot coming at you wasn't tough enough. Let's add some
Yeah.
curbing movement.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, are you talking about that one where he kind of, it's a bounce shot and he kind of like
Yeah.
shoots it and it's like, it's headed like outside of the crease. It
Yeah.
bounces and then just spins in. Yeah. That's ridiculous. That's
Yeah,
ridiculous. That's a ridiculous shot. Sometimes you just got to tip your hat to the shooter, right? I think that's one of the cases.
Yep.
Yeah. By the way, Galloway also presenting at the Goalie Summit. In fact,
Yeah.
we recorded that. Well, he couldn't make it live, so we actually already recorded that session, and it's a great one.
Uh-huh.
Drop you a little teaser right now. But actually, by the time this show comes out, the Goalie Summit will already have happened. But anyway, doesn't matter. What would you say? What part of your goalie game do you think needs the most work?
Honestly, bounce shots, or like maybe like stick in the corners, or like low corner saves. I mean, I've kind of tried to develop myself into like putting my head down to my stick. I mean, I've had that bad habit for a while where I just put my head of my stick down, not bring my full head with me.
Mm-hmm.
So I've tried to like, I've done like the lanyard thing where you wrap a lanyard around your stick and then hook that onto your helmet. I've done that drill and that's starting to help a little. I noticed like some significant difference in doing that.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that. And just for those listening at home that don't understand, it's like you basically you get your head behind the ball. You try to get your head and your body. So like, instead of just dropping your stick on a stick side hip, you're like your head kind of comes with it.
Yeah.
Same thing they teach actually, first baseman for like fielding, catching balls and like scooping balls out of the dirt. Just because I think you're able to make more saves that way. But yeah, that's a good drill. That's a good drill. Lanyard drill, attach, to either your stick or your wrist, a little lanyard, and then attach that to your helmet. And then you physically must take your head with you, or else you kind of get the lanyard at full extension there. All right, cool. We'll keep working on that. What about, you're not that old yet, but if there was a young goalie that's say like 9, 10, 11 years old, what advice would you give them?
I mean, my brother is in 7th grade, so I kind of help out their goalie on their team. I kind of do warm-ups with him, teach him what I've learned so far. And honestly, it's really nice to like teach someone that, because you know that they'll be good at it someday and you made an impact on that. And that's one thing I really look forward to.
Chris, dude, that is a great point. That is a great point. I wrote about this in a blog post, and it's something I learned from one of the mental game coaches that I interviewed for the podcast. Dr. Rob Bell. Did you listen to that one?
No, I don't think so.
You should. It's really good. So his whole concept is like, you cannot coach yourself. You cannot coach yourself. And when you coach others, you're actually making yourself better.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're coaching others. One, there's two things going on. One, in order to coach somebody something, you have to have an understanding of it at a pretty good level, like even more so than doing it. And then two, like, even if you're not good at it, like, let's say I'm teaching somebody how to be mentally tough and I'm not that mentally tough, right? But by giving them those lessons, then when I find myself in a situation where I need to be mentally tough, like those lessons are kind of ringing in my head, or sometimes, you say, oh, like I can't, what's a mental challenge goalies have? Like, I can't, I give up a goal and then I can't forget about it. Like I can't move on. And then you ask them, well, what would you tell like another goalie who's in that same situation? And they're just like, they know the answer, right? Because you can't coach yourself. Anyway, that's a really important point that you bring up. I'm glad you brought that up.
And you know how people write some like stuff on their helmet, like with the tape and everything?
Yeah.
I've kind of wrote the Goalie Smith motto, be the best, because that honestly, if I make a bad save and I'm still hurting over it during the game, I kind of just nudge over, look at it and know that I want to be the best on the field. I want to be the best human I can. So what am I going to do this? And that's what's going to make me better.
Love it. Be the best.
Yeah.
Be the best. How about a time that you went through a slump?
It was definitely during my like freshman year. It that COVID just really messed me up. I mean, I didn't see shots for over a year and a half. So I mean, there's not much I could have done,
Right.
but there's so much stuff that I learned from it that even though you were in a slump for a month, you can come out of it and end it on a great season. And I learned so much from the camaraderie of my teammates through my coaches, and having coaches that really have your back, like out of lacrosse as well, really helped me develop my own thought process and myself as a goalie, because I always felt like I had someone behind my back, knowing that I could.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Yeah, I mean, you don't see shots for a year and a half. It's tough mentally because, mentally you're like, well, I know what I'm capable of, right? And you're obviously not performing at that level for obvious reasons. You haven't, this is a sport of repetition, right? And you got to get that muscle memory firing again. You got to get used to the shots coming at you again. And so there's a lot to relearn. But you're like, well, I should have saved. I've saved that shot. I know how to save that shot. And so, yeah, that's a huge challenge. But you did it, man. You did it.
Yes, I did.
That's what I like to hear. What about so you mentioned you got on the throat guard tape, or do you have Be the Best written like somewhere where you can see it?
On the throat guard.
On the throat guard. Okay. What other kind of mental game tips do you have, or what other things mentally would you say you struggle with?
There's not really much I struggle with. There's more of just tips, like just having a good like teammate relationship, having a good relationship with your defense, even your offense, because at practice, if you have not a good relationship with your offense, they're not going to be nice to you in goal during the shooting drills. They're not going to be nice at all. And then just having like a good brotherhood with your defense. I mean, me and my D guys hang out a lot. And it's honestly like a little family we've built on and off the field. And it's great to know that I have guys that have my back and I'll have their back no matter what, on the field and off the field.
Yeah, it's a great point. Now, was your relationship with those guys always like that? Or was there something specifically that you did to kind of foster and build that up?
I mean, kind of my skill kind of got like more close to them. I mean, when I was younger, we had an A and B team, and all the guys that I play now with were on the A team. I was on the B team, and I wasn't that close to them because I wasn't part of their like friend group when I was younger. But now I've kind of grown closer to them and I kind of know them more, and it really has helped me.
Love it. Awesome. What about do you have one save that sticks out as your best save of all time?
It was honestly maybe during this club season during the fall. I made a really good 2-on-1 save. Like it was like man up, and the goalie on the other team cleared it to the other side of the field, and my defense couldn't get back in time. And it was a 1-on-1, and I ate it right off the chest pad. And the whole other team was slumped. They were so mad at the other kid. I felt bad for him, but I was so happy that I made that save. And we ended up tying that game for a 7-7 tie.
Nice. You're really empathetic guy. Feeling bad for those attackmen after you stuff them? Not me, man. Not me.
I'll throw a finger wagging there every once in a while.
Yeah, all right. Snacks. Yeah. That's good. Well, cool. What about when we talk about goals, or for the future of yourself and lacrosse and the sport, what comes to mind for you?
I mean, the dream of mine is to play in college. I mean, that's every sports player's dream, I think, if you're really dedicated to the sport. And I mean, just hard work and it's not even really talent. I feel like just putting in the work, like knowing people too, being a good communicator, being good in school, just doing what you need to do to want whatever, you'll get there. at some point in your life. Either if it's not now, maybe later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I mean, at kids your age, if they're somewhat serious about the sport, you're right. Many have a dream to play, college lacrosse. And yeah, I mean, it's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of hard work because you got to work hard in the classroom. There's a lot of different levels of lacrosse, and like many of them, when we start talking about like D3 programs or some D2 programs, or definitely the MCLA, like you've got to get into the school on your own merits. You know what I mean? The lacrosse team doesn't have that much pull. More in the MCLA, which is a lot of great schools too, like Berkeley, Stanford. I'm a West Coast guy, so those come to mind. But there's a lot of East Florida and South Carolina and bunch of schools in the MCLA that are great academically. So that's awesome. And yeah, man. And I would make clips too. Do you record like any of your games and kind of, I put together these save edits. Are you recording?
Yeah, I have a fall highlight tape out in my Instagram.
Cool.
I had it on my own. That was it. And I also was really proud of myself for it. And I want to thank my dad and my brother for filming all my clips.
Nice.
I had to pay a lump sum of money to my brother to film them for me. But I mean, it was really fun knowing like they're just recapping every once in a while, looking at my clips, seeing, wow, I really did that. And like, if I'm at a low point, I can look at that and say, wow, I made that save. Look what I can do now.
Right. Totally. 100%. Yeah. Like a lot of times what I say is for goalies when they're in a slump is to go back and like kind of watch those tapes of themselves. The save edits I do can sometimes do it too, but if you have good tape of yourself, like watch that and you get really pumped up and fired up and you're like, oh yeah, like that's what I'm capable of. Right. Cause a lot of times being in a slump is just all mental. Like you kind of lose your confidence and it's just this really bad circular thought process where it's like you lose your confidence and then you play worse and then you play worse and then you get less confidence. So it's just like this horrible cycle. And you got to flip it to be like, all right, I got the confidence. Now I play good. Because I play good, I get more confidence and get that in that perpetual cycle. But that's cool. And then you can see the progress.
Yeah.
Right. So if you keep making those tapes, I don't know how much money you got. You're going to have to keep paying your brother. Maybe he'll work for free. What is your Instagram, by the way? If folks want to give you a follow.
Chris.Piluso12. That's CHRIS.PILUSO12. All lowercase, no spaces.
Cool. Well, I'll link up to that when this comes out. What about like pregame rituals? You a big pregame ritual guy?
I'm more of a drench myself in water type of guy.
Yeah.
Hug the goal, do a nice little cross, and then I'm ready to go.
Right. It's quick and easy, huh?
Yep.
All right.
Sometimes I'll throw in the beard in, hit the pipes a bunch of times, do the up there, and then slap up my teammates a bit, get hype. I'm a huge communicator on the field. I love to get loud, but by the time the game is done, my throat hurts more than anything on my body.
I love that. Yeah, it's is that something, again, same question, like, is that something you always had, or is that something you've worked on? And if so, like, how did you go about building that loud communication voice and style?
I've always been a talkative kid. My parents and everyone can vouch for me on that. Mm-hmm. Love speaking publicly. I love just meeting new people and just being loud, getting that energy going, like getting my team hype, getting the face-off guy ready, screaming his name, getting him hype, everything like that. I really think that's like a really great thing that I can do. And I'm really proud that I can do that.
Awesome. Love it. All right. Well, Chris, this is tons of fun. What about your current stick setup? What do you go with?
I'm going with double U's at the moment with 12D mesh. That's it. And then the Eclipse 2.
Eclipse 2. Double U's. It's like the Kincannon setup.
Yep, exact Kincannon.
All right, I love it. Awesome. All right, Chris, anything, I think that was pretty good. Anything you feel like we missed?
No, not really.
All right, man. Well, good luck in your upcoming season. We got your Instagram if folks want to give you a follow. And if you had to leave the goalies out there with a final piece of advice, what would that be?
Be the best. Be the best you can out there. And no matter what anyone tells you, you can do it.
Be the best without hesitation. Chris, thank you so much.
Have a good one.